The end of Ubisoft is hopefully very close.
This could be a really bad year for Ubisoft. They have two AAA games coming out in a short period of time. One of
They should have called them quadruple A games because remember Skull and Bones, the first ever quadruple A game. That's right. It was beautiful and a disaster. And Star Wars Outlaws is already hated, obviously, and Assassin's Creed Shadows is probably going to be worse, honestly.
one of them comes out tomorrow. That's Star Wars Outlaws, unless you paid the crazy price of $100 to $130 for that Ultimate Edition. And then around October, I believe, Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to drop. So if both of those games fail, that's going to be really bad for them because I'm sure they dumped a lot of money into both games.
They probably dumped all of their money in those games. That's the thing. So I hope they fail even harder than I hope.
4 years is what it took to develop Assassin's Creed Shadows, according to a new interview with GamesIndustry.biz. Quite a bit of time. Not as long as Concord, which apparently took 8 years, but considering a lot.
I honestly don't think anything's gonna beat Concord in terms of being woke garbage slop. But I mean, Assassin's Creed Shadows is gonna come close, you know. Wrong architecture from Japan, actually taken from China. A storyline that completely just makes fun of the Japanese. Black protagonist that literally, honorably stomps the skulls of his Japanese enemies and is a samurai, obviously, and who kills innocent village people if they don't bow down to him. Oh, and this some kind of twink gay romance that you can have. It's gonna be great.
A lot of the assets for Assassin's Creed games get handed off. It's not that crazy because keep in mind they all use, I'm pretty sure, the same engine for a generation, and they'll reuse what they can for the next game. So it makes it a little bit easier compared to a game just starting off from scratch. But here's the interesting thing. So there's a new rumor that pre-orders for this game are in the toilet. And I want
They obviously are gonna be in the toilet. There is no way. Because gamers are really waking up to bad games. Again, World of Warcraft, no one trusts that shit. Look at the War Within. What's going to be the story of the War Within? Well, Anduin, being the absolute pussy that he is, he can't deal with his emotions and trauma and all of that stuff. So he obviously needs to find that black, half-elf, crippled, strong, independent woman that's going to save his soul. AKA the new Lord protagonist of the War Within saga. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. And people are not responding well, obviously, to that. Dragonflight wasn't that bad, but even Dragonflight suffered tremendously. Again, there are so many games where people are just absolutely done trusting companies, People are slowly learning that judge the book by its cover. It's almost never wrong. 99 out of 100 times the cover is never wrong when it comes to gaming and entertainment. If you see the Assassin's Creed what's it called, story synopsis or whatever, you instantaneously know it's gonna be shit.
I want to make it clear this is a rumor. We don't actually know what these numbers are, but it's a pretty good source. So
I honestly don't think it's going to be 800 units because that's insane, but it's going to be super low. It's going to be the lowest that Ubisoft has ever seen in their lives. It's going to be lower than Star Wars Outlaws even.
Stuttering Craig, the guy who runs the Side Scrollers podcast, I appear over there on Mondays. He also built up a little thing called Screw Attack. So I'm pretty sure he's got video game insiders. He's been in the game for a long time. And he took to Twitter to talk about Star Wars Outlaws pre-orders, which he says are bad, and Assassin's Creed Shadows pre-orders. So he originally said, in a response to Grums, who said, I'm told a massive amount of keys went out to streamers yesterday and today. It's working. Star Wars Outlaws at 112K views.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of keys did go out to streamers because they were not going to play it otherwise. Star Wars Theory got a key.
Viewers right now on Twitch, likely all part of one of Ubisoft's most expensive marketing campaigns. And he's right. The marketing for Outlaws is big.
And it's going to fail because it's just so poor. Okay? Anyone who even has 2 brain cells can look at Star Wars Outlaws and instantaneously say, yes, this is unacceptable trash.
Whether or not the game sells or not, I don't know. Keep in mind, even because
it's going to sell, but it's going to be, again, hugely below what Ubisoft expects. 100%.
Both of these reports are on physical orders. So keep in mind, digital is kind of where it's at now, but people still buy physical games. And I do think that there's a large portion of people that do still buy physical. But yeah, they sent out a bunch of keys to get eyes on the game. And Twitch is a popular outlet where people go watch streamers. So they get the keys to the game to as many big streamers as possible. It is a good way to market your game. And here's what Craig had to say. He said, I have an insider who works for high-traffic game stores.
The problem with this, by the way, is sure, it's a valiant attempt, but a lot of streamers, considering they just got given the key, and it's Ubisoft, so not a lot of streamers are Ubisoft fanboys or whatever. So a lot of people who play this game just were like, no, this is shit. And they were constantly saying this, that it's bad, it's boring, nothing's happening, and so on. So this is not good marketing at all. And, when you're new, sure, almost all exposure is good exposure, but when you're something as old as Ubisoft, no, you cannot have your name be dragged through the mud so extensively. It's going to end poorly.
Stores in one of the most populated places in the U.S. They have 27 stores in that area, and there have been a total of 41 pre-orders for Star Wars Outlaws. 41.
So, I don't exactly remember what's the statistic on this, but for pre-orders and things like this, I think it was 8-2 a ratio of, well, essentially 4-1. So for every 4 people that pre-order or buy it online, there's 1 person that buys it, in physical. So this is a horrible, horrible statistic.
There is no hype for this game. Now, I do kind of believe that. I really don't see a lot of excitement for Outlaws. In fact, when I search on social media to see what people are saying about it, most of the conversation is around the game breaking bugs, like that one that just recently happened that I did a video on this morning, and people laughing at bug videos. Like, for example, the one I showed in a video the other day that RGT85 showed where his character slid down a hill. That's about the most conversation I see revolving around the game right now.
Oh, yeah. You can literally just fall through a floor at random, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Star Wars is in a really bad place. Look at the Acolyte and what happened with that. Nobody really cares about Star Wars like they used to. If this game...
The Acolyte is also tremendously failure because a lot of people who are talking about the show are obviously talking in a negative way about it. But furthermore, those people didn't watch it because they didn't want to lose their time watching something that bad. There are more people who are interested in people talking about how bad Star Wars Acolyte is than people who are actually interested in watching it. It's just so bad, people are willingly choosing to not even try and just hear people talk about how bad it is.
Game came out 10 years ago, it would have been a banger. Everybody would have bought it. Everybody had been hyped for it. But there's no hype for Star Wars anymore. But there is still hype for Assassin's Creed, a brand that hasn't been quite damaged like Star Wars. And that's what makes this kind of surprising.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed is forgotten to a huge extent.
Because, yeah, we're all laughing at it and making fun of the game right now because of certain choices that the developers made with it. But for the most part, not everybody.
The lead writer of Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dedicated black slam pig. And no, I'm not making this up. That is literally her Twitter bio.
Really pays attention to it. It's a brand that's still on a high. But apparently, Craig had an insider come to him that said, as of this morning, at their nationwide big box chain, Assassin's Creed Shadows has less than 800 pre-orders combined for Xbox and PS5 company-wide.
Good.
They have 900 stores. That is less than one pre-order per store. Yikes. That's wild to think about it.
I get who's gonna want to play it? Who wants to play as a goddamn black samurai that just stomps on Japanese skulls? No one.
That's true. One pre-order, less than one pre-order per store. That's insane because this is a high-profile game. Has there been damage done to Assassin's Creed? I don't follow the Assassin's Creed games that much because I'm never.
Same, but they're pretty boring. Everyone has kind of agreed that Assassin's Creed has become like, who cares?
Really been a big fan of them. I don't like them, but I get that people do. They aren't for me. I've never been a big fan of them. I don't like that future.
Every game comes out of poorer version than it was previously released.
Shit, traveling back in your DNA for genetic memories or whatever that shit is. I don't like any of that future stuff. And it's turned me off to the entire series. But I don't hate. If you like it, that's cool. But that is disastrous. They could have two high-profile L's. And it's funny.
He's forgetting about Skull and Bones.
Because Park Place covers that financial report that they put out in Q2 where a guy asked them about this because they're being very conservative on the units that they expect to move for Outlaws and for Shadows. And one of their investors called them out and was like, look, these are big games. Why are you being so conservative on the numbers? And they didn't really give a very good answer to that. But I do wonder, like, it seems like they are concerned about the sales for this. And, you know, this could all be nothing and the game could sell like crazy, but what if they do have two big losses this year?
One is already hard enough for something like Ubisoft because how many games does Ubisoft release? Not that many. Skull and Bones honestly doesn't count because the Philippines paid for that game, the government of Philippines or whatever, or Malaysia. It's a mess. But so that's not really a loss for Ubisoft. But considering Ubisoft's development cycle and how much money they put into these games, if both of these fail tremendously, Ubisoft is really, really gonna feel the pain.
That could be devastating.
And I'm talking tremendously would be out missing the sales target by 20 to 30%. And their sales target is already extremely, seemingly sparse, you know, very modest. So it's probably the minimum break-even point or something like that. And I don't think they're going to even clear that.
To them because a lot of money goes into these games. I don't think people realize how much money it takes to make a game like this. If both of these games fail, that'll be devastating to Ubisoft as a company.
Yeah. Again, now I don't know their financial situation, but my guess is that both of them failing by 20 or 30% of estimated sales is pretty much the equivalent of them needing a bailout. And, you know, potentially them just shutting down. Hopefully. Again, Ubisoft is the first big company that I think is going to go under because there's literally nothing good about Ubisoft. And again, Ubisoft's something that we as gamers kind of forget about its existence. It's worse than, you know, Blizzard, but we just don't talk about it enough.
because they're really expecting these games to sell hard and really take off in the market. And I'm just not so sure that's going to happen. I'm just not so sure about it. So we shall see. We shall see. It'll be something to watch. There's some numbers here for how it's doing over on PlayStation. Outlaws here is listed at number 6 for pre-orders of their best-selling titles, behind Black Ops and NBA 2K.
Oh, God. That's really bad. When you're losing the sports games, you know it's bad.
NBA 2K Hall of Fame, these different versions of the basketball game. Assassin's Creed in its various versions. One comes in at the Ultimate Edition, comes in at 22. And the base game sits at the 31st position. The Gold Edition is at 42.
Damn.
Star Wars Outlaws is at 6 for best-selling titles over on PlayStation. And what's funny is it's behind, Call of Duty, which I don't even think comes out for another month, and Madden, that comes out pretty soon. College football still up there. So it's really tough to say what's going on with this. I don't know. Take all of this with a grain of salt, but
it looks bad.
This could be really bad for them. Really bad. We'll see if it comes true or not.
I hope it's even worse. Again, I just hope it's the worst possible scenario and Ubisoft goes on that. I would love that. Anyway, that was Yellow Flash 2 this time. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.